Welcome to the Texas Transition Training Modules. This module addresses age-appropriate transition assessments. To begin this module, let's look at the Transition Services flowchart again. This process is necessary to ensure that each student's IEP includes a coordinated set of activities for a child with a disability that A. is designed to begin within a results-oriented process that is focused on improving the academic and functional achievement of the child with a disability to facilitate the child's movement from school to post-school activities, including post-secondary education, vocational education, integrated employment, which also includes supported employment, continuing in adult education, adult services, independent living, or community participation. And B is based on the individual child's needs, taking into account the child's strengths, preferences, and interests, and includes instruction, related services, community experiences, development of employment and other post-school adult living objectives, and, if appropriate, acquisition of daily living skills and provision of a functional vocational evaluation. The very first component of the transition process that is to be discussed is age-appropriate transition assessments. Age-appropriate refers to the chronological age of the student. Using a variety of assessments in a variety of environments, students' needs, strengths, interests, and preferences are identified. Transition assessment is an ongoing process of collecting information on the student's strengths, needs, preferences, and interests as they relate to the demands of current and future living, learning, and working environments. This definition was originally published in 1997 and continues to guide research and practice in transition assessment. This process should begin in middle school and continue until the student graduates or exits high school. Information from this process should be used to drive the IEP and transition planning process and to develop the summary of performance document detailing the student's academic and functional performance and post-secondary goals. Some transition assessment data can be obtained from existing sources, but the key is to consider how the data informs planning related to the student's strengths, needs, preferences, and interests in current and future living, learning, and working environments. For example, psychological, aptitude, and ability transition assessment data could include reading strengths for college as identified by the Texas Assessment of Knowledge and Skills. The ASVAB, offered by the Department of Defense, could provide valuable data on a student's aptitude in a variety of careers. College entrance exams, such as the ACT or SAT, also provide information regarding academic achievement in relationship to college entrance requirements. Quarterly and semester grades can provide information on the student's performance in various subjects. Taken with the attendance record, this data can provide information that could relate to employment, such as arriving on time, meeting expectations, and following through on tasks. In addition, you probably know much more than the grades report. Were grades influenced by the ability to turn in work, test-taking skills, or behavior in the classroom? Curriculum-based assessments provide a wealth of information that we rarely tap into. For example, an assignment in a Family and Consumer Services course could provide information on the student's cooking skills. A report in a language arts course on a career of interest could not only provide information about the student's writing skills, but also about the student's plan for the future. A presentation in science could be related to a career of interest and provide information on public speaking skills. While existing transition assessment data is a good place to start, none of this data provides enough information on the student's strengths, needs, preferences, and interests as they relate to the demands of current and future living, learning, and working environments. Additional transition assessment data will need to be gathered on a regular basis. These assessments, however, do not need to be time-consuming for either you or the student. Informal interviews with a student or family can be used to articulate the student's post-secondary goals and plans for reaching the goals, and to determine the support system in place to help the student after high school. Interviews with family members can also be beneficial in identifying the student's independent living and self-advocacy skills outside the school setting. Rating scales, interest inventories, surveys, and questionnaires can include everything from teacher-made surveys to published comprehensive transition assessments, such as the Transition Planning Inventory that compares the ratings of the student, family, and school professional across living, learning, and working domains. Another option is the AIR Self-Determination Scale, which considers these same perspectives but focuses on the subdomains of self-determination. Observations can be conducted in school, community, and home setting. They can include specialized behavior observations using a time-on-task behavior chart, informal observation of the student's preference for one task over another, or social interactions with peers. Situational assessments are planned observations or performance-based assessments that assess the student's skills in a particular area. A situational assessment could be used to determine if the student can independently take the city bus from work to home, request an accommodation from a teacher, or count back change for a purchase. Environmental assessments compare the student's skills to a specific environment. For example, if a student wanted to work at a clothing store in the mall, the environmental assessment would identify the skills and working conditions for the job. These could then be compared to the student's skills and preferred working conditions. The retail job would be inside, so the student wouldn't need to tolerate extreme temperatures, but the job would require standing for nearly the entire shift. Additionally, interaction with others, folding, and ringing up purchases would likely be key elements of the job. Medical or health appraisals might not be necessary for all students, but for those with medical conditions, this can be a key element to living independently as an adult. Surveys are available that ask students if they know their medication, when they need to take it, how to get refills, how to set up doctor's appointments, etc. Finally, functional vocational evaluations test the student's skills on specific job tasks. These assessments typically involve situational assessments in which the student completes a variety of tasks while being evaluated by an observer. The results of the evaluation can include rating of competency, speed, accuracy, and independence. In some circumstances, functional vocational evaluations are completed by the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation for Youth Receiving Services. Clearly, there are many methods to collect transition assessment data, but the key to choosing appropriate transition assessments for a student is to consider what the IEP team needs to know about the student's strengths, needs, preferences, and interests as they relate to the demands of current and future living, learning, and working environments in order to help that student move towards his or her post-secondary goals. Which of the following statements is correct? Transition assessment is the first step in the transition process and is used to identify post-secondary goals. Or, transition assessment is the second step in the transition process after identifying post-secondary goals. Click on the correct answer. The first answer is correct. Transition assessment helps the student identify his or her post-secondary goals, but transition assessment doesn't stop there. Transition assessment is an ongoing process that helps the student and IEP team refine the post-secondary goals, identify gaps between the student's current skills and post-secondary goals, and build a coordinated set of activities that advance the student's skills related to his or her post-secondary goals. Age-appropriate transition assessment provides the basis for identifying for individuals' needs, strengths, interests, and preferences, and their post-secondary goals. It also provides the basis for identifying a coordinated set of activities, including course of study, which facilitates the attainment of post-secondary goals in the area of education and training, employment, and where appropriate, independent living. Age-appropriate transition assessment is the foundation piece for all decision-making in the transition process. For further exploration on the topic of transition assessment, check out these resources. The Instack Transition Assessment Toolkit provides detailed information regarding the purpose of transition assessment, selecting transition assessments, and a list of sample instruments. The Texas College and Career Planning System is designed to support all high school students in identifying their career interests and connecting those interests to careers and college programs. High school guidance counselors often utilize this system. The Iowa Transition Assessment Database provides links to over 300 free transition assessments that are organized by domain, assessment method, and who completes the assessment. Try the advanced search options to pinpoint an assessment that is ideal for your students. The Transition Coalition assessment reviews enable teachers to write a review and rate assessments that they have used. These reviews then help others decide whether to purchase an assessment. Thank you for completing the Transition Assessment module. Please check out the other Texas Transition training modules.